We're all faced with a paradox. The more things change, the more things stay the same. Everything is different, yet it all remains the same, yet nothing is different. So whether in our own business or the broader economic sphere, or the social circles that we live and work and we move in, all this paradox, all this change. And when faced with this paradox of change, how do we respond? How do we handle it? This talk is about, firstly, the change that we see, and then secondly, some of the drivers of these changes, and thirdly, what are the implications? And finally, what I want to cover off is one of the best ways to enable you to cope with this paradox of change that we all face.
And here are some facts about how Australia has become different over the years. 27% of us are born overseas. 50 years ago, the majority of migrants were from Europe. Today, that's from Asia. Since 2008, internet access from smartphones has risen from less than 10% to more than 50% of the population. Company tax rate has dropped from 45% in 1980 to 30% today. And in the 1960s, agriculture accounted for 62% of our exports, but today is less than 20%, whereas manufacturing over the same time frame has almost doubled from 9% to 17%. But what is interesting, that in the 1960s, over 63% of us were employed in the service industry. Today, that is around 85%. And out of 11.6 million Aussie workers, around 1.5 million of us change jobs every year. That's about 30,000 a week. And some of these drivers of change. Firstly, our growing awareness of the shifts in our climate. But is this shifting climate affecting people? Is there a societal change? Is there a trend? Well, I would say yes. I remember when I was first in Alice Springs, and there was one specialist commercial outlet for solar cells, and that the only common use of the sun was for solar heating. And that was only good because of the number of sunny days in the centre. But now in Melbourne, the place that is not the sunniest in Australia, it seems as though every third house has a solar electric panel on their roof. That people are concerned about the environment and what the changing weather patterns mean. And the second area is our growing preference for individualism. Think about life here in the 60s and 70s here in Australia. Dad had a factory or perhaps a government job, a job that had regular hours, and we watched TV as a family, and as a family we were all involved with the same social organisation, whether that was a church or say a sporting club. It was about us, not about me. It was what we did, not what I want to do. It was about the system. Now it's about the individual. And the third area of change is technology. We are well aware of the leaps and bounds of technology. We can think of the strides in genetics and in robotics. What about the capabilities of wearable technology, of big data and cloud computing? And think of the capabilities of the cars we drive, sensors and all that smartphone integration.
But what are the implications of all of this? What are the effects of these three trends? What should we be doing, or at least be aware of, as we aim to survive and thrive in our businesses, even our not-for-profit or community groups? How will it affect us? How can I answer the question that you have right now? What's in it for me? So here are some truths that I believe that you should consider. Here are several conclusions that I have drawn from these drivers of change that I know that you should place on the table for the decisions that you will be making.
So what are the implications of these drivers of change? Well, first, if you are leading and managing people, you do need to be attractive. Not in the physical sense, but because of the rise of individualism and the awareness of what is good, to get the best out of people, one needs to, if you will, be the role model. Are who you are, and perhaps that business you head, consistent with the values of those you lead. And second, not only is change occurring, but the rate of change is increasing. Consider the abundance of social media connections we'll have and the ways we get news and its immediacy. Consider how we have Google and other search engines to find things out. Think about how easy it is to gather people together to solve a problem and then solve another because of the prior and underlying problem has been solved. How rapidly are things changing in your market? How quickly are the shifts occurring in the markets of your customers? And third, the expectation of immediacy. Reflect upon the electronic devices you take away with you. Do you have a music player, a camera and a phone? No. It's easier to just use one device that does all three tasks. And what about our interactions with the issues of the day? Isn't it far easier to have your say than before? It used to be a snail mail letter to the paper or to an MP. Now it's a tweet, a reply or a blog post or a like on Facebook. And as we look for easier ways to do what we need to do or what we want to do, the opportunities are there for those who can make it easier to transact the many things we need to transact.
And so I put it to you that at this time of opportunity, the best way to take advantage of this opportunity is through being connected with others. The key is building social capital. Social capital. Its components are trust, reciprocity and community values. And what you have in the group that you're part of, if you will, this business community that is being built by common values, by trusting each other and by doing things for one another. Although it is obvious, we do miss the point. These networks with good social capital have the best outcomes for their individual members. For as studies have pointed out, a network of people that have a quality social capital components have better resources available to each individual member. Change is always afoot, but we need to understand the drivers of these changes and what are the implications of the changes. We need to have an appropriate response to change. I'll leave you with this. JFK said this about change. He said, change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or the present are certain to miss out on the future.